What do we have next coming up for us? We've got types of data. Okay, so we got types of data. I say data, you may say data. Either way. Types of data. We've got quantitative being, and they're in front of you. So I'm going to ask you for examples that are not written down here. So quantitative is numerical, and qualitative is, what do you say, categorical, not numbers. So let's look at the two different types of numerical data we could get. We could get discrete data. So in discrete data, we count our data. So number of pupils in a class. So we've got 7 in this, 12 in that one, 15, whatever it is. Marks obtained in a test. So number of pupils. You can't have half a pupil. Marks, well, our marks are going to be, you got 12 or you got 13. You don't have a half mark. You definitely don't have everything in between. And our continuous data, examples coming soon, your continuous data is what you do by measuring. So in the first Ed Puzzle, the first lesson, we talked about the height of pupils in a class. So although it might have been, we've got 1,59, we've got 1,6, you're still measuring it. And if you measured that little hair up here, then maybe it's 1,6001. It's continuous. And all these lights that are surrounding me, there are quite a few. We might say, how long would that light last, is the example here. Well, it could last for 57 seconds or 57 and a half or 57 minutes or 32 years and a millisecond and a little bit more. Okay, so discrete or continuous, we measure along the way. So I want one example of each, please. That's not here. So an example of discrete data and an example of continuous data. And I have no idea what you've just put there. Off the top of my head, discrete data. What else? Number of cups of coffee that I drink in a day. Lovely Rick coffee in Frisco. Number of times that I say fantastic. Fantastic's a fantastic word. Okay, so there we go. Those are discrete. You count how many. Continuous data. Let's say, what is the amount of water in the pool? We're going to measure that, and we're going to go to, to liters, but it's continuous. How much coffee there is in my coffee cup? Well, we'd have to measure that. Those are two pretty much the same example, though. Okay, so qualitative. Now, qualitative is not to do with numbers. So we can't count or measure it. We might put some numbers tenuously too, but you put them into categories. So the two examples we got here are eye color. So we might go, okay, let's put things into eye color immediately. It's not, well, you've got an eye color of 3 or 7 or 2.5. It doesn't fit. It's not even discrete or continuous. But we could say, let's put it into categories of brown, blue, green. I don't know. What color eyes do you get? Those are 3 that jump out to me straight away. Very, very dark. Can it ever be, can you have black? I know you get really brown eyes. Okay. Okay, so other things. Favorite cereals. Okay, so we got the examples there in front, right? Okay, so do you know what the question is? And while I ask you the question, you're going to be writing, but I don't get a choice to think about it. Think of an example of qualitative data. Okay, so another non-numerical data set that might come up is favorite subject, because we had favorite cereal there. So favorite subject, I mean, it's a given, right? Okay. Any types of, I'm looking at brands or anything that's in you kind of measure. Now, here's what I said earlier about you might put numbers to it. So it's still qualitative. If I asked you, how much do you understand quantitative versus qualitative data now? On a scale of 1 to 5. Although you're putting a number to it, that's where now we're blurring the lines a bit in some ways, because we're putting it in categories. There's no given 1 to 5 for how much you understand, but now we have to put categories to it to say, 1, I don't understand at all. 2, I understand a little bit. 3, and you see, it's not quite as simple as just going numbers, non-numbers. There could be categories, and we've put numbers to them, but still qualitative. Okay, so there's some 2. If the other one was blurring the lines too much, good. Making us think. So let's look at 2 different things that can help us with our data. Frequency table is a way of summarizing lots of data without putting every single data point down. So the first thing that we're going to do for this one is I'm going to jot down every single data point, which you do not need to do, but we're doing it just to see what this data set would look like and why this is a useful way of looking at it. Okay, so there's a survey of 40 grade 10s. You asked, how often in a space of a week do you visit the tuck shop? And here's the data summarized along here. So you might visit the tuck shop not at all. That's me. Oh, wait, I'm not a grade 10. I wasn't surveyed. 0 people, 1 person never visits the tuck shop. All the way up to visiting it 10 times a week, there's 1 person. I'm surprised that this list didn't continue to 13, 14, 30 times a week. Okay. So if we were to write out our data, and I just want to do this before asking any questions. Number of people that visited 0 times a week is 1. So the first one would be 0. As I said, you're not going to be asked to write this down, but I think it's useful to see what this data looks like. Number of visits, 1, there are 2 people. So there's the first person who visited once, there's the second person. 2 visits a week, there are 3 people. So we could have, if we had asked, we've got so far out of the first 6 people that we've asked is summarized in this part of the table. So we've got 6 people in this part. We've got 1 person who didn't visit, 2 people who visit once a week, 3 people who visit twice a week. And so it would go on if we were to write this. If we looked at the next one, well, there are 3. If you visit the tuck shop 3 times a week, then there are 4 people. So 1, 2, 3, 4. How many data points do we have all together in this data set? And yes, I purposely asked that in that way. Data points, data set. We've got 40 grade 10 pupils, so we must have 40 data points, because everyone answered the survey and is represented here in the table. Okay, so why do you think it's useful to have written this information in a table instead of writing it in this nice, neat, ordered set like this? Many different reasons. Many. I mean, the key here is something about summarizing it. Maybe you can see something. There's something useful about seeing it in this method. Let's see what you said for that one. Okay, so what do we actually have to do for this? Use the frequency table to determine mean, median, mode, right? Those are three things we're interested in the moment. So, mean. We know that mean is you add up all the values and you divide it, oh, that's a great line, and you divide it by the number of points. We already said there were 40 data points. What's the idea of how you're going to work out the mean? Well, this is why I started writing it out here, so we can just match up these two. We've got 1 person who visited 0 times. We've got 1 person who visited 0 times. We've got, so that's 0. We've got +1. So we've got 2 1s. We've got 2 times 1. Hey, look, 2 times 1. We've got 3 2s in our data set. There it is here, 3 2s. So the easiest way is we've got 3 times 2. There's 1, there's 1, there's 1. Instead of going +2, +2, +2. Plus, and so we could go along. Yeah, it is going to be quite something to put that all in, and then you're going to whip out your calculator and go, maybe a fraction was a nice way to look at it. 1 times 0 plus 2 times 1 plus, etc., all divided by 40. And when we do that, we'll get some sort of answer, whatever that mean is. So to check that you do it, what's the mean? That was probably a nice little pause there while I'm carrying on with the video. That was another minute for you going plus, and all of that. Okay, so mean, then we got the median. Now the median's also a bit of fun. So think about this data set, written all the way like this, and let's rub this out of the way. Ooh, goodbye. And we're looking at the median. What is the median again? Well, the median was the one that happens in the middle. Now thinking of our data set like this, why can we not, no, maybe not why can we not, let's just see, how could we find the median, the number exactly in the middle, and maybe before that, given that there are 40 pupils, and you think of me putting up my fingers like that before, there are 40, are we going to have one person in the middle, perfectly in the middle, or are we going to have two that we're going to have to take an average of? Okay, definitely going to have two because it's an even number, so it's not going to split out nicely like that where we've got the same on each side. We're going to have two. Those two people, so if we had 4 people, we'd have to take data points 2 and 3. If we had 6 people, we'd have to take these two data points 3 and 4. So given that there are 40 data points, 40 pupils, which two numbers are we going to have to add up together? Okay, maybe I didn't word that well, but I'm thinking of if we've got 40 and we went and wrote them all down there, these two that are in the middle, well, we said if there were 4, it was going to be 2 and 3. So we divided it by 2 and took that one and the next one. So therefore it's going to be 20 and 21. Okay, in which boxes? So I'm going to say where it's definitely not. Is it sitting in there? Is it sitting in these two? Is it sitting in these two? Is it sitting in this one? Where are those two data points, 20 and 21? If you ordered this all in order, where would those two be? Well, we've got one over here. We've got 2, so at this point here, that was 3 on this side. And we've got 37 on that side. Okay, so let's keep going. At this point here, we've got 6 on this side. So we're looking at our table here like this and saying we're looking for data points 20 and 21. We've got 6 and 34. 1 plus 2 plus 3 is 6, and that should all add up to 34. Right, so let's keep going along. Now, we don't have to keep going so tediously along. Not a bad method, but maybe how could you more quickly find the 20 and 21st data points? Well, let's just add those up to see when we got 1 and 2 is 3, plus 3 is 6, kind of the same strategy, isn't it? 6 and 4 is 10, 10 and 6 is 16. So we got, at this stage, we've got 16 on that side and 24 on that side. At this stage, let's put it on this side, we'll have 23 on that side and 17 on that side. So in other words, somewhere over here, we've got 16 on that side, 23. So surely somewhere over here is where we've got our 20 and 21st. Would it be in there? Let's do those counts again. We know that it's between 20 and 21. That's where we need to find it, right? So we're looking for the 20 and 21st. So up to this point, we said there were 16, right? 3, 6, 10, 16. So it's definitely not the side. It must be in here. Are 20 and 21 in there? Okay, I think that it is, and lost track of things there, but yeah. So 20 and 21, if you wrote this all out in order, would be sitting somewhere over here, because if we went into the middle, that would be in the middle. That's 20 and 21. Okay, so our median there, both of them, so we can maybe just jot that thinking over here to go, it's the 20th, 21st person pupil, so therefore we're looking at 5 is the median. That's which kind of worked out sort of in the middle. Okay, our last bit. Mean, median, mode. What is the mode? Well, the mode's probably the easiest out of all of these. Which one occurs most often? Well, in this case, the number that occurs most often is 5. So our mode is 5 because that occurs most often. If you wrote all of this out, you would have written 5, 5, 5, 7 times. Cool, so that's that. Ready for the next one? Hope so.